Daniel Carter stepped out of the taxi onto a busy Manhattan street, the cold breeze brushing against his face as if reminding him he was finally home, after years in France, where he had quietly rebuilt his life from the ground up. New York felt louder, faster, and somehow heavier with memories he had tried to leave behind. Beside him, his daughter Lily held his hand tightly, her small fingers wrapping around his as she looked up at the towering buildings in awe. For her, this city was an adventure. For Daniel, it was unfinished business. He adjusted his simple coat, nothing like the tailored suits he used to wear when he worked inside the glass tower. Ahead of him back then, he had been respected, admired, even a talented chef turned creative strategist. Daniel had poured his ideas into the company, helping it grow in ways no one thought possible. But all of that had been taken from him in a single day, fired without warning, his work claimed by someone else. His reputation shattered before he could defend himself. That day had broken him, sending him across the ocean with nothing but determination in a child who depended on him. France had changed him in a quiet coastal town. Daniel had started over cooking in a small kitchen, rediscovering his passion and slowly rebuilding his confidence. He learned patience there, learned that success didn't always have to be loud to be meaningful. And now, standing in front of the same company that had once cast him aside, he felt none of the anger he expected. Instead, there was a quiet strength inside him. Steady and unshaken, the invitation to return had come unexpectedly. A formal email requesting his presence for a strategic discussion. No explanation, no details. At first, Daniel had ignored it, unwilling to reopen old wounds. But something about it lingered, a feeling that this was a door he needed to walk through, not for revenge, but for closure. So he came, bringing Lily with him because she was his reason for everything. As they entered the building, the polished floors reflected their footsteps echoing softly in the vast lobby. Employees glanced their way, some curious, others whispering behind raised hands. Daniel could feel their eyes on him, but he didn't lower his gaze. He walked with quiet confidence, holding Lily's hand as if it grounded him to the present. The receptionist looked up, her expression shifting as she recognized his name on the appointment list. There was a flicker of surprise, quickly masked by professionalism, as she directed him toward the executive floor. The elevator ride felt longer than it should have, each passing second pulling him deeper into a past he had worked so hard to overcome. When the doors finally opened, the atmosphere changed, conversations hushed, and heads turned. Daniel stepped forward, calm but aware of every heartbeat. He didn't know what waited for him beyond those glass doors. But he knew one thing for certain: he was no longer the man who had left this place broken. Whatever happened next, he was ready to face it. The moment Daniel stepped fully onto the executive floor, the quiet tension in the air became almost tangible. Conversations that had once filled the sleek hallway dissolved into silence, replaced by the soft hum of computers in the faint echo of distant footsteps. Employees who had been walking with purpose now slowed, their attention drawn toward him as if something extraordinary was about to unfold. Daniel felt their eyes, but he didn't react. His focus remained steady, his grip on Lily's hand gentle yet firm, as if reassuring both of them that they belonged here. Before he could take another step, the heavy glass doors at the far end of the corridor suddenly swung open with urgency. The sharp sound cut through the silence, causing a ripple of surprise across the floor. From inside, the CEO emerged, her presence commanding, her usual composure replaced by something raw and urgent. Without hesitation, she moved quickly, almost running her heels, striking the polished floor in a rhythm that echoed louder with each step she took toward him. The sight alone was enough to leave the employees stunned. This was a woman known for her control, her distance, her ability to dominate a room without raising her voice. Yet now she seemed driven by emotion rather than authority. Daniel remained still, his expression calm, though a flicker of uncertainty passed through his eyes. He had imagined many possible outcomes for this meeting confrontation. Indifference, perhaps even dismissal, but nothing like this when she reached him. She didn't stop to speak instead. She wrapped her arms around him in a sudden, tight embrace. The action was so unexpected, so completely out of character, that a collective gasp swept through the onlookers. Lily instinctively stepped closer to Daniel, her small hand gripping his coat as she looked up in confusion. Daniel himself froze for a moment, cut off guard by the intensity of the gesture. He could feel the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremble that betrayed how much this moment meant to her. For a few seconds, time seemed to stand still. The entire office watched, unable to look away. Then slowly, Daniel lifted his hand and gently placed it on her shoulder, not fully returning the embrace, but acknowledging it when she finally stepped back. Her eyes glistened, the carefully built walls around her, emotions clearly breaking down in front of everyone. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice not loud, yet it carried through the silence with unmistakable clarity. It wasn't the rehearsed tone of a leader addressing a crowd. It was personal, sincere, and filled with regret. The employees exchanged glances, whispering quietly among themselves. No one had ever seen her like this. Daniel studied her for a moment, searching her face for something. Truth, perhaps, or understanding. He didn't respond immediately. Years of pain, struggle, and quiet. Rebuilding stood between that apology and his acceptance of it. But there was no anger in his expression, only a deep, thoughtful calm. She took a breath, studying herself before continuing. "What happened to you? It was wrong. I should have seen it. I should have stopped it." Her voice wavered slightly, but she didn't look away. "Everything the company became after you left. It was built on your ideas, and I let someone else take credit for it." A wave of murmurs spread across the floor, louder now, filled with disbelief. Some employees looked shocked, others uncomfortable, as if they were realizing for the first time that the story they had believed for years wasn't the truth. Daniel could feel the weight of those words settle over him, heavy yet strangely freeing. It was the acknowledgement he had never received, the validation that had been denied to him when he needed it most. Lily tugged gently at his hand, drawing his attention for a brief moment. He looked down at her and she gave him a small, encouraging smile, simple, innocent, but enough to ground him again. When he looked back at the CEO, his expression had softened slightly. "I didn't come back for this," he said quietly. His voice was calm, steady, carrying none of the bitterness one might expect. "I came because I needed to close the chapter." She nodded, understanding the weight behind his words. "And I want to help you do that," she replied, "but more than that, I want to make things right publicly, completely. No more hiding the truth." Daniel glanced around the office, at the people who had once been his colleagues, at the place that had once defined his life. It all felt distant now, like a version of himself he had outgrown. France had given him something this place never could: peace, purpose, and a chance to rebuild without expectations. "I've already rebuilt my life," he said after a moment. "Somewhere far from here, I'm not the same person you let go." "I know," she replied softly. "And that's exactly why you're the person this company needs now." The statement hung in the air, bold and unexpected. Daniel didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at Lily again, then back at the woman standing in front of him. This wasn't about reclaiming what he had lost anymore. It was about deciding what truly mattered, moving forward around them. The office remained silent, every employee aware that they were witnessing something far greater than a simple reunion. This was a moment of truth, of accountability, and perhaps even transformation. Daniel took a slow breath, feeling the past and present collide within him. Whatever decision he made next would shape not only his future, but also the meaning of everything he had endured. And for the first time since stepping back into this building, he allowed himself to consider the possibility that coming here hadn't been about closure alone. It might have been the beginning of something entirely new,